Sorry, I had to kill the time lapse there for a minute. I had 2 phone calls that came in at the same time, and then the gnats are just brutal out here today. They're really thick, they're really sticky, and I was actually breathing them in a minute ago. There were so many of them around my face, I was taking breaths in through my nose, and they were going up my nose. Ah! Anyway, I'm gonna finish setting up the tarp. I tied off the prusik knots to the ends of the eyelets on the tarp along a ridgeline, and it just makes life a whole lot easier. That's a brand new tarp that I just uncorked. I bought it, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago on an Amazon special. It's a Yukon Outfitters, I forget the model, but it's their tarp. And it was a cheapie, it was like 20 bucks. And it's great for relatively cheap, lightweight hammock camping. Boy, these bugs are thick today. Had a visit from the park rangers a minute ago. I need to put on my microphone. So anyway, as I was saying, I finished setting up the tarp. It's a brand new tarp, so I had some rigging on the lines to sort out. Now that that's done, next time the setup will be just, you know, a minute, very, very quick. I'll finish getting that thing staked down and talking work. I had a few phone calls that came in all at the same time. I had to stop the recording for a few minutes. And now I will resume with where I was going a minute ago. What did I do with my stakes? I didn't put them out there. They are not here. What did I just do with my stakes? Ah, there they are. Get this guy set up in porch mode. This was a new tarp that I picked up a couple years ago. It's just been sitting in the bag. I bought 4 or 5 of them. I can't remember how many there were. They were on sale on, first they were on sale on Woot, then they were on sale at Amazon, which is now the same company. They used to be separate, I think. Anyway, they were very cheap. I want to say they were $20 each, $19 each, something like that. I don't think I staked out far enough. So I grabbed a few of them. It's too good a deal to pass up. I've used several, and then the others have just stayed in the bag. Haven't needed them. But I thought for this trip I'd go ahead and break this one out. I usually replace most of my lines with better quality stuff. The factory stuff is usually kind of weak. Just doesn't work all that well. This is not too bad, but these little plastic guys, you can't see them from where you are, but these little plastic tensioners tend to rot and crack and break, and they just don't hold very well over time. Okay, ridgeline's doing well. This guy I might be able to tension a little bit better. There we go. All right, so that's a nice open tarp. I'll bring the camera under here in a minute so you guys can see it. You're watching at a distance right now. Put these away. For anybody that doesn't know rope work, I am no sailor, but I've learned a few things over the years. One of the best ways to hank your spare cordage is the figure-8 method. I can't even remember how long ago I learned this or who I learned it from. Pinch it between your ring finger and your little finger, and then just get it started. And once you get a few wraps, it'll hold fine. And then you just do a figure-8 like this, and all you have to do is just rotate your hand back and forth, and you figure-8 it until it has about, you know, I don't know, a foot left, a little bit left, and then wrap that around, catch the last loop. I need to catch one before that. Catch the last loop and just drag your line through it and lock it off, and it won't get tangled up. When you want to undo it, all you do is just undo that little loop right there, and everything comes apart beautifully without any knots or tangling or any of that nonsense. This one, just out of the bag, had 3 or 4 knots in it. So I'll do that again. So there, start it up, couple turns. And you can take tons and tons of cordage that way. Usually lighter stuff like this. You probably couldn't get as many turns on paracord because it's thicker. But the principle works with pretty much any kind of cordage as long as it's not super, super thick. Hammock lines and stuff work great. Looks like I need to move my solar panel. I'm getting a little too much shade. Right over here is good and open. Let's do that. Let's elevate it a little bit now. Shroud the batteries from the sun. There we go. You guys can't see me right now, I'm off camera, but that Goal Zero, Nomad 7, Nomad 14, all that series, they're great. And this new version that they've got, it's their Nomad Plus series. It's a laminated, what do I want to say? It's like vinyl, laminated, waterproof, you name it, and you don't have to worry about bringing them in when it rains, so that's great. So many times I'm out camping and I want to leave batteries charging, so I'll have a solar panel on the roof of my tent or something, and I would have to pull it in because I was worried about it getting damaged or shorting out or whatever. So to solve that, I got really expensive PowerFilm and a couple of other brands, but I settled on PowerFilm because they're military spec. It's really good stuff. You can shoot them and they still work. It's amazing the way the individual little cells in there are set up, but they're pretty spendy. You pay a lot for what you get, and the Goal Zero stuff is great as long as you didn't get it wet. This new version of Goal Zero, bueno, good stuff, works well. And I've left them out in a torrential rain and no problem. Anywho, so now we'll get to the hammock setup itself. Once you have a tarp, usually I always set the tarp first, get it up kind of high. I usually go a little over my head high. It just depends on what I'm pitching and how high I think I need to be, but usually head high is a good start. And the further you hang your the further your suspension has to stretch between trees, the further your trees are apart from each other, the longer the hang is going to get, and you have to go even higher than you normally would. So these are about the right distance. They're about 18 feet apart. And I'm going to go ahead and get the tree straps on there. Usually this will go above the tarp line, depending on how close you are. If it's a really close hang, your tarp suspension ends up higher than your hammock suspension. But when you're stretched real far out like this, you get so much of a sag that your hammock suspension generally needs to be above it. So. See if I can get it up there without it twisting up too much. On these tree straps, they're very simple to operate. No real magic here, but you don't want to get too many twists in them if you can avoid it, because that just bites into the tree worse and kind of reduces the effectiveness of the grab. So how I usually do this is I bring it down, I put the V or the Y, whatever you want to call it, to where it kind of straddles over the tarp line. And then got my sling to attach my hammock, leave her hang there, go get the other strap, do the same thing, lather, rinse, repeat. Park rangers keep going by here looking at me. I already told you, I paid, had a little visit from him a minute ago. Where's your pass? It's on the mirror. It's supposed to be on your windshield. I don't have a windshield. Are you deaf? Are you dumb? You gotta have a pass before you come in here and set up. Day use can't camp. You can't use these spots. Dude, I just said I'm staying overnight. I'm camping overnight. I got a spot. I paid. I'm legal. Don't bug me. Oh, that sun is right in my eyeballs. I can't see anything. Oops, I didn't go over my line. Staring into the sun, that doesn't help. Other way, that way. Thank you. Oh, you're just fighting me all the way, aren't you? You just fighting me all the way. And these gnats up my nose and in my ears don't help. Okay, now, all better. Get this up and over, and get the Y coming down below it. Okay. Now, I'm gonna grab the hammock. I'm rocking the sub 7 and the bug net today. Thank God for the bug net. I don't mind dealing with the bugs when I'm awake, but when I'm asleep, oh no, no, thank you. I will pass on that little fun. Always smacking something buzzing in your ear, wake up, pepperoni face from all the mosquito bites. Can't do the totally raw camping. That's why, at least here in Texas, down in the south, I don't do bivvies much, because you're open, at least your face is open. And that just means the bugs are going to be chewing on you all night. I don't like that. I could do without that in my life. I don't mind being out in nature, but I don't want to be on the menu. Okay. So now I'll work on the hammock arrangement here, make sure my height is about right, and then I'm going to throw the bug net on there. Make sure I don't have anything sharp in my pocket before I sit in this hammock. And I'm going to go up one more notch, and it's going to be foot end that goes up higher. It's always better to have your feet up higher. It reduces swelling and everything else. It's a little tall. I would like to get you down a bit, so what's the answer there? Well, I'll pull the head end strap and put it underneath the tarp line. That's what I'll do. I have a different suspension that I usually prefer to carry, but I don't know what I've done with it. I put it in one of my go bags, and I don't remember which one or where, and I can't seem to locate it right now. But I've got the, they're essentially, I'm forgetting the name. Why am I forgetting the name? They're variable length. You can adjust them to whatever you want. Whoopie slings, sorry. I don't know why I was spacing out. They're whoopie slings, and you can adjust them to whatever. Now, I've got different flavors of those. I have the Helios, which is a ENO brand, Eagle's Nest Outfitters. And then I also have some homemade ones and multiple variations all the way around. But they allow you to, slack as far as you want. These straps that I'm using right here today are knotted AM steel. And I could put extra knots in the AM steel, I suppose, but they're just a little more limited on their adjustability. You guys can't see it from where you are, but there's, it's what, 6 to 8 inch spacings there. So, 6 inches is quite a bit when you try to set your hammock height. Yeah, that's gonna work. That's gonna work. I might bring this down just a hair more. Of course, it's gonna drop a little when I load it. This is my first time out with this particular kit, or this particular arrangement anyway. So I'm doing a little bit of trial and error test fitting here. Another biting fly buzzing around me. Go bite somebody else. Okay, so that's done. Now the last piece of the sleep kit minus the underquilt, which I'll get on there in a minute. And I keep getting spiders hanging off of my camera. I didn't invite you. The ENO, there it is, ENO Guardian bug net. This isn't the super light that's traditionally paired up with the sub 7. It's the full size one, but I prefer the full size one. The ultralight bug net is really small, and you feel like you're getting into a sock. It's always constricted around you. Head and foot are right on you. A little suboptimal in my book. It only has an entry from one side, so I'm trying to get my door over here facing the campsite. Now these guys, I think I'll go ahead and put on a helmet cam here, and I'll switch this camera back to time lapse. Okay, well, let's see if it's working. Okay, so I haven't used this little I've got a camera mount for the bill of a hat. So I've got my little 5 session on the bill of the hat right now. We'll see how that works out. Ooh, there are lots of spiders out here, man. Okay then. So this guy, getting hooked. I had it laid out and now I lost it. This guy has one door. It's the bottom, there's the top. This zipper, here we go. This zipper is the one and only door. So how you work these guys is you unzip it, you shove your arm through to the end, and you grab your hammock line, your clip, your carabiner, whatever it is you're working with, and you bring it in that way. And then once you got this through there, you reclip to your line, whatever your suspension is. If I can get it back on there. Sorry, I'm not aiming my camera very well, am I? I'm not used to this. I'm gonna have to aim this thing much further down. Okay, and then when it's all done, you cinch up your little end sleeve here to keep the biting critters out. And then you just repeat that process for the other end. You drape it along here. Yeah, shove your arm through. Undo your suspension. Sorry, I keep angling my head up and not down. Probably should have done this with the chest rig. It would have been easier, huh? Okay, so now that I've got that in there, just follow this in along my arm. Bring that out and reattach. Got so much extra cordage on this side, or extra line, I just kind of loop it up so it's not dangling. Don't want to give the critters an extra way in if I can avoid it. And then immediately you close up your bug net so they don't start getting in. Now this one normally has the ridgeline outside it. I don't like it outside, or at least just for that purpose. What I do instead is, get out of my mouth. Ugh. I clip it to another ridgeline. So I've already got another ridgeline set, and I clip that guy up here off of this ridgeline. It just makes more sense to me. Gives you a little more headroom inside the bug net. It's not draped right on you, and it's independent of your hammock suspension. You don't want to hang it on your hammock suspension because then it sags and the whole thing droops into your face, and that's pure suck. I didn't get this one closed. Let me go ahead and get my carabiner in the suspension to keep that guy really tight. Or in the sleeve, I should say. Get up here. There we go. So now I've got a bug-free zone that I can enjoy, hopefully, and not get chewed on so much. Now these extra little prusik lines are great. I'm gonna angle my helmet cam here. These extra little prusiks that I've got on this line, I can use to hang other stuff, camp lanterns, you name it. And then as far as overall placement of the tarp on the prusiks, I can slide the tarp this way or that way as I need. So I just want to make sure that I've got full coverage. I'm not going to be getting rained on tonight, but morning dew and that sort of thing, condensation settles in and gets you wet. So I've got about, what, 2 feet there. Just check this side, make sure nope, I don't have enough coverage on this end. So what I'm going to do is loosen that end of the tarp. The prusik, slide it down about 8 inches. And all you have to do is just give it a little nudge, tighten it back up, and then I'm going to pull up that slack over there. Now I'm already tied off, so that makes my chore a little more interesting here. I might have to loosen that guy. If I were smart, I would have checked that offset before I tightened everything else down, because now I'm fighting the 2 side tie-outs. Okay, that's pretty good. So that keeps the tarp kind of up. It's semi-suspended by its own internal ridgeline, the load-bearing seam here. So it's staying up off of my primary ridge line, and then the bug net is hung off of it, and then the suspension of the hammock is separate. So you got 2 separate suspension systems that are holding essentially 3 things. Now this looks really high off the ground right now, but it's not. As soon as I get in it, it's going to sag. And then the other thing I've got to set up is the underquilt. So this guy is another Amazon cheapie. I'll do a picture for the time lapse here. It's a one tigress, however you want to pronounce that. Another Amazon cheapie. I want to say it was a $50 underquilt, and it's reasonably good quality. The fit is ideal for something like an ENO sub 7 or even a ENO double nest, single nest, double nest, anything in that range, about 9 to 10 feet long. If you get longer than that, you know, some of your full-size hammocks that are actually, you know, your really comfortable hammocks, this isn't long enough. You need a different underquilt. But for short hammocks, this thing works very well. I don't like the compression bag though. That's the first thing I'll say. Compression bag is really fiddly. It works okay once you got something in there, but man, getting it out and getting it back in, you better have a magic trick. It takes 2 or 3 shots to get the quilt squeezed back into that guy, even when it's opened up to its largest mouth capacity there. Underquilt doesn't have a left or a right. Just out of anal retentivity, I always put the logo on my door side just so I could see it. Now, I don't need that during the day today, but I'm going to go ahead and, what did I do with my zippers? Oh, there. I'm going to go ahead and put it in here for now. I'll just hang it loose. I'm going to lay down in here in just a little bit when I get all set up. And I don't really want to be sweating with the underquilt. Now, these things have their own shock cord suspension, and I put a couple of little carabiners on there because it just makes it easier. And then I adjust the the shock cord to be as tight or as loose as I want to get the hang of the underquilt right underneath the hammock. The carabiners did not come with it. I don't think. I can't remember. Hey, that sleeve opened up again, damn it. Well, I'm going to fix that right now. I don't want you opening up. You need to stay just the way I put you. And I put you that way for a reason, because I wanted you to be that way. So you need to be what I want you to be. Let's put the taper of that carabiner on the other end, shall we? Now you're going to do what I ask and like it. There we go. Okay. So now that I got the tarp moved around, I'll retension this line. Don't want it flapping all night long. That really bothers me. Just noise, pollution. Okay, so there's the hang. Took probably twice to 3 times the amount of time as it usually does, because I'm fiddling with this new tarp and showing all this stuff on camera instead of just doing it, which is much faster. Normal setup time for camp when I do this type of arrangement is 15 minutes, maybe. If I'm using gear that I've tried and tested and I have all my cordage set to the right lengths and everything is set up the way I like it, I can set camp and tear down camp in less than 10 minutes every time. This one was probably half hour because I'm fiddling with stuff instead of doing. Okay, so before I throw everything or zip everything up and put it all away, gotta get my pillows out. These are great. I think I've mentioned these in a previous video. I'll show it one way for this camera that I'm talking to and then the still camera. The Klymit Pillow X. These things are fantabulous. They're very lightweight. I think they're 1.5 ounces or something. They're really super light. This is a brand new one. The sides of it were stuck together. They only take about 1 breath to fill up. And then I've got another one that I use. This I use in my bigger hammocks, but in any of the hammocks I like to bring it along and use it for thigh support or knee support to prevent hyperextending my knees. So this is a Snugpak camping pillow. I don't know if they had a particular model. I'll look it up and link all this stuff. This guy is just barely heavier than that. I don't think it works as well as a pillow as it does as a support. The Klymit pillow is really good for keeping your head on the pillow because the X and your head folds into it, or it folds around your head rather. This guy, dead ant. This is just really kind of square. It does have a bit of an indentation here, but your head doesn't stay on it as well. It works great for sleeping bags, not so great in hammocks. But I use it as a support, you know, like an arm support, or I'll put it behind my knees to keep my knees from hyperextending. It's great for that. And the pair of these together weighs maybe, 3 or 4 ounces. Very nice, very light. So I'll throw these two guys in here for later. No particular order or placement until I need it to be that way. Keep my hammock on this side and the underquilt on the other side until I'm ready to use that underquilt. I still need to cinch it up. Oh, we got some flap. That's going to drive me nuts tonight. I'll have to fix that, won't I? My other tarps, I've got, better, I should say higher quality tarps, and they've got multiple guy out points all over the place to prevent that flap. And this is not a, catenary cut. So it does have the propensity to flap a little bit. I've noticed that before, but nothing a little tensioning won't take care of. All right, got another little 1/8 of an inch out of that. I might get it again over there, and we'll just tension these differently. I can always move my stake over to pull a little bit at a diagonal, but she's pretty tight. It'll do its job. Okay, that's really it. Camp is set. This is not rocket science. There's nothing terribly difficult about it. Just takes a little practice in the setup and the teardown to do it smoothly and efficiently each time, and little time-saving tricks that you learn along the way with handling your cordage and your gear. It's not windy today, at least right here, right now. Whenever you're doing this in the wind, all your stuff sacks, you never want to leave them sitting out anywhere. You always want to shove them in something bigger, heavier, so they don't fly away, because they will fly away. Nothing worse than going to pack your gear up and finding out you don't have the bags anymore. That can be problematic, especially compression bags, because if you don't have a way to compress some of these things down, they're not going to go back in your pack the way they came out. In fact, you might not even be able to pack them. That's happened to me with a sleeping bag several years ago. Luckily, it wasn't a very expensive sleeping bag, and I just said, screw it, and tossed it in the round bin on the way out of the campgrounds, because there was no way I was going to be able to pack it in my bag. Oh, yeah. Speaking of bags, this is indispensable. Hey, don't come out of there. It was for work. I don't know why it's still in there. These are indispensable. Always bring a couple of bags. It could be full-size trash bags. It could be grocery bags. At night, take your shoes off, put them in a bag, and close up the bag, because you will end up with bugs, creepy crawlers, spiders, things that could hurt you in your shoes. Your shoes are warm, they're damp, everything that bugs like. Usually I'll bring a bigger bag, and I'll also put my helmet in one. I didn't bring one large enough for that today, but dime a dozen, a million a dozen, whatever, a million a dime, however you want to look at it. These things are so cheap, they're ubiquitous, they're everywhere. You get them every store you go to. They're great for packing out your trash from camp and for storing your shoes at night. And when I'm in a hammock like this, if I've got a gear loft down in the bottom or a bug net like this, I put them in there with me. I don't leave them on the ground, because that's just more chances for getting spiders and squishy stuff in your shoes, riding boots, whatever. Yeah, so that's going to go in the tent with me. This is going to go on my brain in just a minute. I'm going to go get some dinner, because I didn't bring food or anything with me. Let's get some water, something to eat and drink. Oh yeah. Been busy taking phone calls. I brought an extra pillow, because sometimes I want an extra one. They're so small. This is the little stuff sack that they come in. I mean, that's a pillow. That's the Pillow X right there. They're just ridiculously small. They weigh 1.95 ounces. There you go. I think my camera's angled right. Yeah, 1.95 ounces. Great little camping kit item. Okay. So I brought a Bluetooth speaker and some camp lighting. The camp lighting I'll string later, I guess. Put it over here in my chair for now. The Bluetooth speaker is great, because it has a little hanging loop for itself, and you can just clip it on whatever you want. I don't know if this one is even paired to my phone anymore, but I can always take care of that real quick. So I'll play some music and just relax a bit. Let's close this up. Put this away. For sleeping tonight, I did not bring a sleeping bag. It's going to be in the 40s, so instead what I do is I just do thermal riding gear. This is Cycle Gear's warmer freeze-out brand. I've got the jacket and the pants, and it's plenty good for me, sleeping down to I'd say high 40s. If I get really cold, I just throw the motorcycle jacket on over that, and fine. Not too particular. Okay, just leave you attached. Zip this guy up and get it off the ground, so maybe fewer bugs will get into it as well. And I foolishly put away the carabiners. I brought those for a reason. Oopsie. I brought gloves too in case I needed those if it gets really cold. Just the little thermal gloves. I'm sorry. So I need to get my carabiners back out of there. I need to get a good moto backpack and work on my kit a little more. My other camp kit, I've got several different go bags full of the gear ready to go. They fit my panniers. They do not fit this. So I had to totally switch gears and go raid things out of different packs to make this little trip work. So everything's a little discombobulated for me, and I don't like that. I try to have everything squared away, ship shape all the time. I know exactly where things are, so I don't have to go hunting. And just do that right there. Not ideal, but it works. Actually, I'm not going to hang it there. I'm going to hang it further up the strap over here. Get out of my face. Hanging the pack keeps a lot of the bugs out of it. You leave them on the ground anywhere, and they're definitely going to get full of stuff. Even on the picnic tables, got those big, nasty black and red army ants running around over here. Probably got them in my gloves by now. Always check before you put them on. Nothing like getting a little bit down the road and find out you got a big old spider in your helmet or in your gloves. You're getting bit. Doing crazy gyrations trying to get it out of your pain zone and not wreck the bike at the same time. Ask me how I know. Helmet. Dirty on that table. I don't like hanging my helmets or setting my helmets on stuff like that, but there's no way to hang a helmet on this bike. I don't think that I'll... Ooh, I lost that beaner. Glad I heard that hit the ground. That would have made me mad. I don't know if I would put the helmet hook on the end of this guy, like the other mods that I did. I'll consider it. It depends on how those bar end mirrors work. I might hang the helmet hook just inboard of this and put the bar end mirror on there. We'll see. I want to keep this guy as minimal and clean looking as possible. The rack is really the only thing I'm going to add externally in that little stubby windscreen. And then if I do the conspicuity lights, they're going to be mounted right here, but I'm going to have to find some that are pretty small. They'll be in the reflector area right there. The little Denali D2s, I think they're called, D2 Mini, something like that. They work well. I've got them on one of my other scooters, and they're pretty small, so they might fit that. And what time is it getting to be? I don't even know. 4:15. I need to get some food. At least something to drink. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I'll do... Oh, get out. You grippy little monkey. I'll do that because I might hang something from that in a little while. Okay, so everything else, camp gear, bugs, spiders, ants, everything else I throw in the gear loft or inside the bug net or somewhere that's up off the ground, away from the bugs. Hangs just like that. I do have the underbelly. I thought it was on this hammock, but I guess it must be on my green one. But it's a little underbelly gear loft that they make. Excuse me. It's essentially just a baby hammock. And it's got like a 25-pound weight capacity to it. The only drawback about it is it has its own suspension, and you've got to figure out where to clip that, if it's going to clip off of your main suspension or whatever. And if you're doing the underquilt like I am, then they fight for space, they contend for space, and it makes things a little tricky. Okay, anyway, I'm going to shut this down, put the gear away, go get something to drink. I don't even know if that camera can see me.